Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider will join us here in a few moments. And,
hey, Z, I got a question for you. Tell me if this is legit, because it seems that a guy just sent me a tweet and said, just for your information, O-Dog, tomorrow's my birthday, and we've been waiting a long time because he's got a twin brother, and so what, his birthday only happens
every 4 years. Yeah.
That is insane.
I know. It's crazy. Well, my understanding is that they revert it back to the 28th. So, because there's going to be a lot of kids.
But it wouldn't seem right. It wouldn't seem right.
I know. I mean, we've all been there. Ultimately, you want a happy and healthy child, but I think there's a lot of pregnant people, a lot of pregnant women around the world that are nervous right now if they're like, we could go at any moment and we might have a leap year kid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Would that be cool? Would it be unique? I think it kind of would be a little bit unique.
That's where you got to grease the doctor and the nurse, $1,000 each, cash, have it in a bag, and say, this happened on the 28th, midnight.
You doctor.
Yeah, what is
the birth certificate to make it doesn't matter. I mean,
I'm not having a kid. I imagine how upset a kid would be. It's like, when's my birthday? That's in 4 years. Don't worry about it.
But it happens on the 28th. Like they would still have a birthday, right? Like it's not like that guy that you're hearing from is 8 years old, and everyone else in his life is 40.
We'll get into it tomorrow. Send us notes tomorrow if your birthday's tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. I'd like to hear from a leap year baby. Like maybe we can do an interview with someone that was born on a leap year. Like, what's up? How do we feel about this?
If you're a diehard Toronto sports fan and your birthday is tomorrow, you got a chance to call in.
Phone lines could be open tomorrow. Very exclusive.
Yes.
Very exclusive. Doogie's going to have to really work hard, though, because we need to verify this. We're going to have people calling in saying, I was born. Oh, of course I was.
We want a picture of ID. Doogie, you gotta get on the Doogie desk and grind all night long over this.
That's right. You got to find someone, Doogie. Maybe Doogie's could you imagine, like, if Doogie was a leap year baby and it just fell right into our laps?
He's only 8.
Doogie's 8 years
That's why
old.
He looks so young.
It would explain everything. Doogie's only 8 years
12,
old.
He's 8.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Leap year tomorrow, and big day for some people. For a lot of people, I mean, it's obviously there's a lot of people with a birthday that would be February 29th. All right, what do we have here? Dreg's coming up here in a moment. See, the PWHL is changing things up.
Love it. You brought that up a couple years ago.
I love this idea.
Pick your opponent. Explain the idea.
Okay, so 4 teams will make the playoffs. 4 of the 6 will make the playoffs, and the first seed gets to choose who they want to play out of the 3rd and 4th seeds. So the second seed is going to still have home ice and play whoever the first seed doesn't pick, but it's not a guarantee. It's 1 versus 4. They may pick whoever came in 3rd because they like that matchup more. And I love that idea. I've been a proponent of this for a long time. It's entertainment. It's different. I don't know if it will work, but I think it's worth giving it a shot. I'm a huge believer in trying it to see how the team that gets picked responds and how much pressure goes on the 1 seed. Like, all right, you made your call. Like, it's one thing if they pick the 4th seed. Even that will be bulletin board material because they could have taken a different team. But then it probably matches up the way, conventional wisdom would suggest it should. But if they pick the 3rd seed because they laid a beating on them, earlier in the year or had their number or there were injuries, I'd love to see that happen. I think it would be incredible theater, and I think it adds a little bit of spice.
Absolutely.
For what's going to be the
down
first
the team
playoff run.
that picks you because they're picking you saying we match up way better and we're going to dummy you.
Yep.
And if it flips, you talk about rivalries and building up some hate against an opponent. There will be some great rivalries because of that, where it's like, you picked us last year, we beat you. That's fantastic stuff.
I love it.
It's thinking outside the box as opposed to just that's the way we do it. And I'm not specifically mentioning Gary, but it's like you don't want to try to juice it up a little bit. And I'm not saying this might be a little bit extreme for traditional hockey fans, but mix it up a little bit. Go back to the 1-8. Like, just do something different. It's like we're trying to get people into the game and like excited to just have it the way it is.
It hasn't worked. It
no,
has, like the 2
the
versus
playoff
3
format nobody likes, including the players.
Yeah.
There's never any trades. Why wouldn't you want to sit down with owners and say, we got to do something to spice the game up for everyone involved?
I totally
you like
agree.
that for the NHL? Would you like? I mean, I don't know. Would you, if Gary gave the option this year? We're going to do it this year. Would you want that?
Yes, I would for sure. I'd love to spice it up a little bit. It's the entertainment business.
No
but even
kidding.
I'd take 1 versus 8 in a heartbeat because this, in my opinion, has not worked. I understood the reasoning was get them playing more divisional games, divisional rivalries, divisions in the play.
It's enough.
It hasn't worked.
It's enough.
It's like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
They're going to play Florida again. They're going to play Boston. It's like it's dry. It's not. I'd much prefer, from a Leaf perspective, if that's who we're talking about, them playing Carolina in the first round, or the Rangers or Philly. Play something different. Here's Darren Dreger, a TSN hockey insider. Dregs, I'm sure you're listening to this, and our understanding has always been that Bettman has no interest in changing anything when it comes to the playoff format. Is that your understanding, and what would have to happen for it to finally change?
Well, as you're talking, I'm trying to, get a grasp on how many times Bettman has been asked about this at varying meetings, GM meetings, Board of Governors meetings, and it doesn't matter whether it's a playoff matrix or it's changing the system, the CBA, so that there's more flexibility, be it a franchise player or whatever triggers you want to incorporate, and the response is always the same. It's an eye roll and a no, the system works, the playoffs work, everything is fine. And how do you argue with that until you get bigger argument from, people that matter? And I'm talking about owners, other owners.
Well, how come they can't see it, Darren? Like, how come they don't see that? Like Hayes just mentioned, it's getting stale. Some more player movement, fan engagement. Yeah. It's like that's what kind of drives the business. How many times have we all said, especially talking to you being an insider, it's like no teams can really do too much right now. That sucks for business, man.
I'm with you, man. But I reached out to the commissioner's office probably about a month ago. And, every year it's the same thing. I could literally put on a calendar when these, texts or emails are going to come in. And normally they're from general managers who, have good teams, but they're stuck, and Brad Treliving might be among them, right? You're stuck because you have limited assets, but more importantly, you don't have the cap space that you'd like to have to utilize to encourage something, to get something going. And I asked a month ago, okay, both of the Players Association and of the NHL, do you ever see a place here in this existing CBA where you create more flexibility? Hard no on both sides. Because they don't want that public. Now, the only way it changes is when you get into the next round of CBA negotiations, you have those conversations. And maybe the world will be in a financially healthier place, the league will be in a healthier place, and everybody feels more comfortable, but I kind of doubt it. Like, Bettman has always wanted to maintain control. Like, he knows that these clubs want to do everything they can to win, but they do it almost at their own peril. And, I don't know if that's the case in the last 5, maybe even 10 years, but that's always what they guard against.
With Darren Dreger, a TSN hockey insider, you guys were obviously on a panel last night. You were talking about it, Sheldon Keefe and the way he was reacting to the officiating last night. And we all have different theories on, the reasoning behind it, his interactions with the refs. What did you make of it, and what do you think the potential fallout could be, if there will be any at all, in terms of Keefe and what his reputation is around the league?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's much fallout. I mean, he's developed a reputation among the officiating world and hockey operations of the NHL, but that's fine. I mean, Sheldon is a very passionate and honest guy. Does he get overzealous on occasion? Yes. More vocal, more animated, 100%. We've seen that countless times. I think that's kind of what pushed, Garrett Ranks to the point of just saying, all right, you got a game of misconduct, even though, as we heard Mike Johnson during the broadcast talk about, it wasn't like Sheldon was swearing or beefing or any of that, but it was just everything that went into that game, and maybe the reputation of Sheldon Keefe and other coaches. And it'll be a reminder, because you can't have that as you push later into the regular season or into the playoffs. But I also don't think it's a big deal. I think it's one of those lessons learned, and we'll see if Keefe responds to it. He did post-game because he wouldn't talk about it to the media. So I doubt it goes further than that, but every once in a while, coaches need to get the leash tugged, and that's what happened to him last night.
Dregs, with the marketplace and trade deadline just around the corner, are you sensing any increased chatter, maybe some moves before the deadline, maybe some general managers maybe wanting to, get ahead of it?
Yeah, we always sense that, Noodles. The buzz is continued to be around the Calgary Flames. And I would say in the last 24 hours, there seems to be a deeper connection between the Dallas Stars and the Calgary Flames and Chris Tanev. Now, do I believe a deal is imminent? No. I think that Jim Nill, the general manager there, is still kicking tires. But I do believe also that there's progress been made between Dallas and Calgary. Calgary is holding out, as they should. When you have players like that, even though they're rental players, you're looking for a first-round draft pick. I don't think they're going to get it for Chris Tanev, but I'm not convinced of that. And probably management in Calgary is thinking the same thing. But it does also feel like the Dallas Stars are as close to all in as you can get. And they had a setback with Tyler Seguin getting injured, and he's week to week. But he's expected to come back before the end of the regular season. So they have to be cautious with the money that they spend, and it's the old dollar in, dollar out routine. But I'd be surprised if Dallas doesn't try to make a hard move on Chris Tanev in the near future here.
Dregs, with the Hanifin scenario, isn't that like pretty cut and dry, where it's like, I don't know, just a man conversation where it's like, you want to stay here or not? Like, I don't know, that thing is, it's not quite Chychrun scenario, but it's just getting a little bit old. Like the deal was proposed at the beginning of the season and he almost signed it and then he didn't, and it's been going on all year. Like, isn't it cut and dry, man? Like, you want to stay or not? Here's a contract offer. If you don't want it, you're gone. And you're gone quickly.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, and I think that Calgary is pretty much signed off on the fact that they have to trade Noah Hanifin. He's playing his best hockey. We can all see that when we watch Calgary Flames games, and they're playing well, including last night. He pushed away from an 8-year deal at around $60 million early in the season. And it was literally right at the point of stroking the pen, and the extension is there. I think Calgary would like to keep him, but they also know that's not going to happen. And from Noah's perspective, you're a pending unrestricted free agent. Why wouldn't you, if you're not convinced Calgary is your long-term fit, explore the market, see what the open market has to provide? And I think that that's what he's most intrigued by. So the challenge now for Craig Conroy and management is to figure out exactly what the rental market looks like for Noah Hanifin. And I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Lots of teams interested, but nobody offering up what they need to close the deal. But that can happen pretty quickly as well.
Dregs, is there, maybe a sneaky team kind of that might come off the top ropes for one of these defensemen? I'm looking at a team like Tampa with the injury to Sergachev, or, Boston always seems to pull something off at the deadline. Like, you hearing any rumblings out of those teams that maybe have been a little bit more quiet leading up to the deadline?
No, not really, Noodles. And Boston is a team, to me, that I think we still have to watch. And I think that Don Sweeney and company are gun shy after last year. They invested at the trade deadline, around the trade deadline. And
everyone should be, Dregs. Everyone should be. It's like
I'm with
Toronto
you.
made a bunch of moves. Boston, it's like, why?
Yeah, and I keep reading and hearing about the speculation around the two goalies in Boston. Well, again, it's contractual, and the Bruins are going to have to deal with that, but they don't have to deal with it between now and the March 8th trade deadline unless somebody blows their doors off. It feels like if they're going to do anything in the playoffs, it's going to be because of goaltending and good defense and good structure and coaching and all of that. But they have needs. They needed a center from the moment that Patrice Bergeron, decided he was done. And, they're trying to fill it internally, and that hasn't worked out for them. They passed on Lindholm. They passed on Monahan. So that tells me they're trying to keep their powder dry there. But that's still a team that we have to watch. Colorado's a team that we have to watch. I mean, go down the list. Edmonton most certainly is hungry. Vancouver wants to continue to add. The New York Rangers, any team that's, in a good spot in the playoffs that feels that they're a contending team, they're all in that market.
With Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, the Ottawa Senators have come up a fair amount, and everyone's trying to get a read on what their approach is.
Yeah.
And then Norris gets hurt again. They get skunked 20-0 in shots in the third last night.
Goofy.
Yeah, I can't figure this out. Why they wouldn't be dumping pieces. Why are they not declared sellers? If Calgary's a seller, how does Ottawa feel that they can get away with not being a seller, considering they've been arguably the most disappointing team in the league this year?
Yeah, I mean, they're up there, and Buffalo's in that conversation, but Ottawa for sure. And I mean, it's not through lack of effort. I think Steve Staios says he's swung for the fence. He's called on players that just aren't going to be traded because of their value to the team that they're on. He's tried to do smaller deals to alleviate some of the cap pressure. But hoping also internally that they were figuring it out. And honestly, other than, and Noodles knows this, you do a lot of Senators games, other than the last few games, I think they felt like they were projecting the right way. When Shane Pinto came back, it gave them a different look. And teams approached them differently because of the way he played. So you do have the Chychrun speculation out there, and that's going to be ongoing. But there's, again, contractually, there's no sense of urgency to move Jake Chychrun. But what's abundantly clear, and the noise is going to build as we get to the end of the regular season and certainly through the off season, is what this team needs and what they have to get. And that's where the pressure starts to mount on management in Ottawa for me.
With Darren Dreger, I saw that Rick Tocchet was asked about Elias Pettersson's play of late. The Canucks are 1-4-1 in the last 6 games. And
I can't wait to hear this answer.
Well, again, I'm reading it based on what came in via email, but I guess he suggested Pettersson hasn't been practicing as hard as he maybe should be, or basically indicating that when he practices harder, he plays better, and that he hasn't been playing great recently. And then Tocchet was asked, do you think it's about, the noise around him and his contract situation? And Rick Tocchet basically said, yeah, he's human. It could be. We were asking LeBron about it yesterday, and I know nothing is out there publicly, but it's loud, man. It's really loud for a team that's had a great year. Now they're losing some games. They're taking some penalties. Tocchet's not that happy. Pettersson's contract's out there. What's your read on Vancouver and what's happening right now?
Well, I mean, to me, it's unnecessary heat and attention, and it feels like that's mostly been brought on by the Vancouver Canucks. And I also understand why they want to put a little pressure on Elias Pettersson. He's a restricted free agent. He's not walking out for free. So he has been absolutely steadfast in not wanting to negotiate, get into contract talks at all. Doesn't want it to be a distraction, wants to focus on the game, etc. all right, well, that's fair, but then all of a sudden, you start reading some of the speculation out there of, he wants 8 times 12. Well, he has not been offered 8 times 12. I can assure you of that. That has not happened. But nor has, J.P. Barry or Pettersson been given the green light by the player to find out from the Vancouver Canucks what a contract extension looks like. So, even though Pettersson wants to, push away the speculation and all the distraction, he's kind of brought it on himself, because if he allowed the agents to get involved and they find out what the extension stomach is of the organization, maybe then it becomes more of all right, there's going to be a bit of a stalemate. But again, he's a restricted free agent. So for the Canucks management I'm assuming it's Canucks management that's leaked out this information that they're having conversations, that just puts pressure on the entire situation, and including Pettersson. But it could have been avoided.
Well, it's been a wild year so far, man. And again, in the end, we still got 23, 24 games left, and 8, 9 days until the trade deadline, and before you know it, it's going to be mid-April and it's go time. So we'll see. Always appreciate it. Thank you, Dregs.
Okay, boys. Have a good night.
Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider.
I don't want to put any comparisons on it, but the Tavares situation in the island got a slow build, and then that's how if you want to stay, you make it happen, because if you don't, then people talk, and then it just turns ugly. And John kept saying in Long Island, like, this is just business, and I love it here, and then all of a sudden he's wearing a Leafs pajamas in his bed.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's your I love it here. Chew on that.
He was a UFA. That's the thing. Pettersson's a restricted free agent. He's not going anywhere unless the Canucks want him to. But and again, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if it gets to a point where he says, I'm not playing here long term, then he could pull a Tkachuk, is what he could pull, right? Like Tkachuk was an RFA, but Tkachuk basically said, I'm not staying. Like, I'm not signing long term. You want to do a dance for a year before I'm UFA? We can do that. But Pettersson's going to be in the same spot. I think he's only got to wait a year before he would be a UFA. So something's going to have to give here. The Canucks are going to want to keep him long term. Why would they not? I'd be shocked if they didn't. But if he has made up his mind or is thinking about leaving, it probably happens this summer. And it could be a Tkachuk situation. I'm out. Here's 5 teams I'm willing to go to and negotiate long term. You figure it out, and I'll sign there and see you later. And if so, man, that I understand why they'd be terrified out there in Vancouver.
I think they'll get it done, though. I
hope so.
Some guys are a little bit different. Like we talked about Nylander. Like, obviously both sides came out and said we want to get it done. Nylander's like, I want to stay, but I don't want to be distracted. And Tree was like, it's my number 2 priority behind the Matthews contract. And then I got that. They got that sorted. So I think it will get done. But players are, they're a lot different now. Some guys don't want to be talking about their contract during the season. Pettersson's a top-tier player. I wonder what that contract looks like. I think it's all of 12 a year. Like, Nylander just got 11 and a half. Like,
exactly.
Pettersson's
12 all day long.
It has to. He plays a more prominent position up the middle of the ice.
Yeah, I think both sides is just there's a timing and there's pressure points, but it does get noisier, to your point, when it's not done, because it opens the door for like a little whisper here, a little whisper there.
Well, it gets noisy, Jamie, when somebody reports people are calling about Pettersson. Fan bases go nuts. They freak out.
Yeah.
As they should.
Well, that's it. They've got a history that's not much different than the one here. Like, that team's never won a Stanley Cup. Been around for a long time. And they've got anxiety, and that fan base, I understand it. They're worried. It's been a tough grind here. The heyday of the Sedins and all that was a decade ago, more than that. It was a grind. This has been a surprising season for everybody, including people in Vancouver. And I'm sure there's a part of every Canucks fan that's thinking, like, is this real or is this going to revert back? You know what I mean? Are they going to fall off a little bit? Are the wheels going to fall? Not to the extent where they miss or anything. I mean, they're obviously going to make the playoffs. But I think if you're a Canucks fan, deservedly so, you allowed yourself to start to really dream of a big cup run here. Like, they've been so good all year and so consistent and so much fun, and they score a ton of goals, and Rick Tocchet's awesome. Like, they're a great story. They're a really fun story. But if you've been a fan for 40 years, you're like, when's the other shoe going to drop? You know, like, what's going to happen here? And if it's this Pettersson thing, it's the last thing you want to hear.
Yeah, and I think you saw, I don't know if you saw today, like Tocchet was messing with the lines a little bit, and he broke up Hughes and Hronek. Hronek was farther down in the pairings. Like, he's trying to be creative. This might be just their turn for a lull and some adversity, and let's see how they come out of it, like how long it lasts and how they come out of it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. They got a point the other night. Like, you know, Pittsburgh stormed back in that game. Like, Pittsburgh, to me, has been on kind of, for lack of better words, life support. You know, they're teetering, and then all of a sudden they found a way to come back in that game. Be interesting to see. And Hayes, you brought it up. Like, if Sid could drag them into the playoffs, that might be an unbelievable story for the league.
Would be.
You know, just
it would be,
because they were. I don't have it in front of me, but what are they out? Are they 8 points out of a playoff spot right now?
I think they're 7 back of Tampa, but they've got like 5 games in hand. So
that's right, yeah.
You know, but they got to jump over Washington, Jersey, and then either Tampa or Philly. They're also 7 back of Philly with 4 games in hand. So that 3rd seed in the Metro or the wild card, it's still going to be difficult. Like, you're running out of time here, and you really got to get on a heater. Like, the rest of the way, they got to play probably 750 hockey to get in, 700 hockey. But if someone's going to drag them there, it will be Sid with the way he's been playing all year. And it would be a great story. It'd be a great story for him. It'd be a great story for Pitt. You know, Carlson scores the OT winner last night. You got big names and stars down there, like future Hall of Famers in Pitt.
When you're in that group too, Hayes, it's not just like yourself. Like I always said, and Johnny has this formula, but you got to hop over all those other. You got to hope that they go in the tank.
They got to fall off. Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't look good. It is not a good-looking scenario. The idea of Sid dragging them in, wonderful stuff.
Making up 7 points in 26 games, very tough to do.
Well,
that's
and keep in
right.
mind, I don't know if you've seen this, like, you know, Dubas has been taking some heat in that market. Like, that's a passionate fan base. And, you know, there's been him trending on Twitter quite a bit as to some of the decision making. Now, again, that comes from up top. He had to probably promise the group is like, hey, I've got this core. They're an older core. I've got to go all in, try and, you know, round out my bottom 6. But, you know, you hear, and it's not just you trending in Pittsburgh, Brian. You know, there is whispers of hosts going, hey, like, Dubas hasn't assembled the team that they'd hoped for. So, you know, there's pressure everywhere. You know, it's not just in Toronto and in Edmonton and in Vancouver and stuff. In Pittsburgh, it's pretty noisy for Kyle right now.
No, it is. You know, I mean, look at Tampa. They got pumped last night, and they've been teetering all year. And Stamkos needs a deal at the end of the year. You know,
well, and they got to replace Sergachev. That guy's that's
out.
Their top-tier defenseman that now they've got that money to do that, the deadline, but they don't have a lot of currency because they've gone in on.
They've gone all in for years, you know, and that's it. What do you have in prospects? What do you have in picks? And like they right now, I guess they make it, but it's not a guarantee. Like they could fade, they could fall off. What a story that would be. And if they do, it's likely that's it for a while. You know, then you start asking, like, if Tampa fades, it's like, all right, this is their Chicago, this is their LA. Like, they have their
Red Hots are gaining mojo, Hazy. Those Red Hot Wings are.
They sure are, man.
Mojo.
They won big
6
last
in a
night.
row.
Big last night.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you know, Showtime looks great. Patrick Kane's been good. They play well. Lalonde's a good coach. He's a good coach.
We'll see what Stevie does at the deadline too. I mean, now that his team's kind of, you know, right in there and pushing, maybe he adds to it and goes, hey, this is our year to, if we're going to make the playoffs, these players have earned it. I'm going to give them a player or two here at the deadline.
I think that's very reasonable. I would suspect guys in the room are probably saying, let's see that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. All right, we're going to get to this NFLPA player poll. A couple of owners taking some shrapnel here that might surprise you. Maybe a 3-pack for the Cognizant Classic down in Palm Beach. We might be able to
absolutely.
do that. Little 3-pack.
Yeah.
I think we can get to some PGA Tour picks. We'll do that as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, so I saw J.J. Watt tweeting about this earlier. A bunch of NFL players, mostly retired players, and you guys have spoken about this. Surveys come into the room. They get passed around. 9 times out of 10, guys don't even fill them out, or they just put their friends down, or they tell the rookies, you got to fill it out for everybody.
I don't remember in our days of doing it, the greasy questions, like who's the biggest rat? It was like, who's the most dangerous offensive player? Who's the toughest? It never got personal where someone's going to get exposed league-wide.
Yeah.
Right.
That was never around.
Yeah, I hated ththose questions now where it's like, who's the most overrated? And then what happens is it comes out and, it's edgy. Like, this guy's, the most hated. This is the most overrated and all of that. Like,
well, it's Zegras this year, so what's he thinking? Did a bunch of my guys say that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, was that a players' poll? Like, I don't think that was run by the PA, though. Was it ESPN, The Athletic?
I believe The Athletic did it, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was The Athletic, yeah.
That's different. Of course, like, the media wants that kind of stuff. Like, that's the salacious stuff. That's what sells, right? You want to hear that kind of stuff. But when it's driven by the Players Association, that's different, right? And I guess the PA does this internally where more than 1,700 players in the NFL participated in the survey between August and November of last year. And the results were released, or some of them anyway, by the PA today. And players were asked to grade their teams on a wide variety of subjects, ranging from team facilities to coaching staffs to owners, etc. And what I found very, very interesting, and again, borderline shocking, is that the Chiefs ranked the Chiefs owner, Clark Hunt, ranked dead last out of the 32 team owners. Those grades were based on what players perceived as a willingness to invest in the team's facilities. The Chiefs ranked 26th in food cafeteria category, 31st in the nutritionist dietitian category, 31st in training room, and 32nd in training staff. So the champs, the back-to-back champs, they've won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. The players are basically like, this owner of ours is a joke. And yet
it's crazy.
They've won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. And my response to that would be, if I'm Clark Hunt, the owner, like, why would I change anything? What do I care if you don't like it? I got Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed and Super Bowls. What does it matter to me if you don't like me? Or you don't like the way I operate.
But
Here.
it's
It
just
seems
the
to be working.
Aren't you a little bit embarrassed? It's like you're talking about facilities, food stuff. I don't know. I played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I played for the Carolina Hurricanes, and in both places, everything was just top notch. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the owners of either scenario lost sleep at night wondering what the players think, but nobody would ever say that about the 2 organizations I played with. And I'm like, who would want that? You can have the Super Bowls and all the money and everything else. It's kind of greasy, isn't it?
It's not
but
a
it
great.
Also,
look, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, it also speaks to the Dallas Cowboys. Like the Cowboys probably have top-notch everything. They don't win anything. You can have the greatest personal chefs. You can have limos to practice. All of these things. You get all these resources. Doesn't translate to wins. That's what I get out of that. Doesn't matter. Kansas City wins.
That's very, very true. And also the nature of this, someone has to come last, right? Like 32 owners, every one of them could pump $1 billion in. Someone's going to be 32nd, right? It doesn't mean that the facilities are literally a joke. Like it's not a prison yard these guys are working out at. Like I'm sure it's still really good gear and pretty good people. But that's a good point, Noodles. Like, I just found the Kansas City ranking to be really surprising considering the success. Like, what does it say that these guys, a lot of their players are like, the food stinks. You wouldn't believe who's training us here. We don't have dumbbells. But who cares? Because we got Mahomes and Andy Reid cooking up game plans, and we're going out there winning Super Bowls.
I'll tell you what. Kelly Chase took me to Wrigley Field to see Mark Grace and Brian McRae play for the Cubs. And there's an organization where if you see what the clubhouses look like, Hayes, now in Major League Baseball, if you go into that one, you're like, this is old school, man.
Yeah.
Like old school. I don't know if they've gutted it and redone it in that facility, but it was just like, it was meat and potatoes, man. There was like a little room with like McDonald's breakfast in the morning, and it was just like,
I'm pretty sure they
school.
have, but that's like what the Jays are doing right now, right? They're investing in the clubhouse and the facilities, and their building's only 35 years old. Wrigley's, 120 years old or whatever it is, 100 years old. Same thing with Fenway. You're right. Like back then, that was as good as it got. The owners weren't. There's no visions of what weight rooms would look like and training rooms and medical staff and all that kind of stuff in the future. And basically all you can do is work with what you have. And I guess maybe the same thing applies in Kansas City because, that's at Arrowhead. Arrowhead's been around for 60-plus years. It's an old stadium. I'm sure the Packers got to deal with the same thing at Lambeau, where if it's a state-of-the-art place like Jerry's World down in Dallas, it probably is just unbelievable across the board. But what's that doing for you?
Well,
not much when it comes to winning.
No, the resources that you have, it's a cherry on top. But if you're in a winning organization, I don't think a lineman's going to sign there or not going to sign there and go, you know what, the meals stink, so I'm not going to try and win. Like they build a winning culture there. Who cares what they get fed? These guys get paid well enough. Like, it just, to me, that perplexes me. But it's more like you say, hey, somebody has to be last. And it is weird that Kansas City ranks last in a lot of things.
Right, and their owner, and another team that got crushed, quote unquote, was the Patriots. The definition of winning for the last 25 years, where the Pats, I guess their owner Bobby Kraft got a D+ as an owner. Their head coach got a B-, which is interesting. That Belichick was getting love from the players, that the owner was taking heat. Their weight room got an F. Their locker room got a C. Or a C-. So, Bobby Kraft,
that's just
man.
a cutthroat poll, man.
It really is. It really is.
You're getting an F in, like, food and, like, weight. It's just so, like, I would want to literally meet with everyone and say, what, this place isn't good enough for you guys?
Yeah, I know. Like, what exactly is the problem with the food that we're supplying you? What are you looking for here that is not good enough? But, the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls. The Patriots have won 7, and there's Bobby Kraft and Clark Hunt just taking absolute shrapnel from anonymous players on their team and throughout the league. So, I don't know. Maybe Bobby Kraft needs that might lead to some anxiety, some stiffness. Maybe Bobby Kraft could be in a position where, I don't know, he might need some help in terms of overcoming all those issues.
If I'm the owner, I find out who said that. I would be pissed off. It'd be like, who the hell is? I know it's anonymous, but
PA's
it's
not
gutless.
Give that up.
I know, but it's gutless where it's like anonymous. Where
I would still pay a guy $100,000 to dig. I would say I want to know who.
Right. It's like the Christmas tree thrower. It's like you need people lurking. Who's complaining in here in the caf? Are you complaining?
Yeah.
You gave
I would
me
honestly pay a guy $100 G's to say, I need you to back channel this and find out who hates this place because I want them gone.
All right. I like that. Yeah. That's vindictive. That's an owner, man. You're a billionaire. You just nobody, none of these subordinates can talk smack about you. All right, we've got the Cognizant Classic that was the Honda for 50 years down in Palm Beach. You want to get a 3-pack in here? What are we thinking? 3-pack? Pretty good field. I'm
going to give you a 6-pack of guys that I come up with, and I just didn't go heater pack.
Okay. You're going 6 straight here, and then I got to counter with 6?
6 straight, and I guarantee half the guys you're going to say, I'm glad I don't even want that guy.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
My guys, Bobby McIntyre from Scotland.
You're kidding me. Bob McIntyre?
Plus 15,000. Why not take a sniff on Bobby? You know why?
I like Bob McIntyre.
Where does he play in Scotland? What's the one element that's a factor for Bobby?
He likes the wind. He loves the wind.
So this guy's going down in the wind. And my favorites, one of my favorites, let him cook. Min Woo Lee.
I knew you were taking Min Woo. He's 35 to 1 on FanDuel right now, plus 3,500.
So I've got Min Woo Lee. I'm going to go to my home country, Adam Svensson.
Okay.
Adam
Svensson, 40 to 1 on FanDuel. I like that.
Former champ Rick Fowler.
Ricky Fowler. Okay. Where is
And
Rick?
A guy that I know that you love, Steven Jagger.
Steve Jagger.
Steven Jagger.
Okay. Steve Jagger. Is Fowler in this tournament? I'm not seeing him on here.
I saw him and I took him.
Okay. All right. You got him. All right. Well, listen, the door's open. I'll take McElroy. The odds are short.
I just did. I said him.
Did you take McElroy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't hear that. That's great. McElroy 7-1. All right. What am I doing here now? I'll take Tom Kim 30-1.
That's a great pick.
I love Tom Kim. I'll take Matty Fitzpatrick. You know I love Matt Fitzpatrick.
God, you all you do is complain about his Skechers, and then you take him.
I know, but he's a winner, and I'm also going to take Sungjae. Imzi's won here before, I believe. I like Imzi I love Imzi in the wind. White belt on a black pant. He will be victorious. I love Sungjae Im.
Dude, that Matsuyama's gear, he's got to stop it with
It's
the yellow
outrageous.
A6 wheels and the yellow shirt and a white belt and a black pant. It's
I know.
insane, Hideki.
Decky, and he's committed to the Oakleys behind his head. It's just an outrageous look, man. Actually, you know what? Like, Norman went on the record recently and said, like, he's chasing him and Liv. Like, he hasn't been on the record talking about, like, the pursuit of players that much in the past, but he's like, Hideki Matsuyama is a guy we are chasing. All right, what else am I going to do here? You know who I'm going to take? My boy Jake Knapp going back-to-back on tour. I will take Jake Knapp. And here's one for I want two more. I don't know how many I've taken. I'm going to take Corey Connors because I want a Canadian. Corey's going off at 40-1. New back, who it is? Daniel Berger. I'm taking the hamburger at 40-1.
You know what? I'm going to take one more guy. Last year's winner, Chris Kirk.
Kirk?
I'll take Kirky, so you get one more.
Well, JP's saying you didn't take McElroy.
I did. Look it right here.
Did you? Yeah, you wrote it down. Did you say it?
I didn't hear the word
Rory.
You never said it on the air.
Rory.
Okay, great. Like
JP.
Tiger, Justin Thomas. It doesn't. You can't just because you wrote it down. You got to. We're the communication.
You didn't say it. You didn't say it.
You never said McElroy.
Look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a picture of my sheet and I'm going to send it to Doogie.
Right.
And by the end of the show, Doogie can make a distinction on if I get him or not.
You can have McElroy, but again, I'm on FanDuel right now. I do not see Fowler unless I'm missing him. I do not see Rick Fowler. So maybe they're withholding his odds for some reason, but there he is. Oh, he's 75-1. Rick Fowler. Those good odds on FanDuel. All right, you got Rick Fowler. My boy Doug Gim's there at 80-1. Dougie Gim sniffs a top 5 about 3 times a year. I could see Doug Gim getting in there.
Dougie Gim, he likes wheeling around out there, all 5'7" of him.
It's just such a great name, Doug Gim. Give me Doug Gim. I'll take Gim.
Gim?
Give me Doug Gim. Puh. Give me Doug Gim.
The Gim.
All right, so I got Doug
Imagine
Gim.
they said that on the first tee. Bring out the Gimp.
Bring out Gim.
Dougie Gim comes to the first tee.
Bring out Doug Gim. All right, there you go. I don't know. I think we're all. I have 9 guys. You have 12.
Doogie, straighten it out.
Straighten it out, Doogie. You and Newell.
We got to pick a winner, though. I don't think we picked a winner all year.
I know we will. We will. This is it. I'm telling you right now. Right now, I feel very good about where we're at. All right, OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, so Doogie's sorting through the PGA picks. I'm going through FanDuel here looking for value, and I'm telling you, my man Doug Gim at 80-1. And our buddy Lawrence Applebaum, Lawrence sending me a text. I was not aware of this. Doug Gim was once the low amateur at the Masters. Whoa. So Doug Gim, when he's in the mood, watch yourself. And,
dude, what's his best finish? Because I guarantee you that guy fades on a Sunday. He was in contention. I think it might have been in Phoenix.
Yeah, it was recently. He was
and he just
up there.
Fizzled.
Yeah, he was sniffing. But he's in the field this week, and McElroy's in the field. McElroy's tone has
weird vibe.
Complete 180.
Yeah, there is
Now he's all kumbaya. We got to all get together, merge the tours. It's for the best interest. Piff, I love it over there. Hey,
because I think in his head he thought, I'm aligned with Tiger Woods, and our stance is we hate Liv. And I don't know, maybe some of the players thought that Liv was a joke and tried to get back somehow. And now he's begging for everyone to play together. Mm-hmm. It's hard to take him serious with that kind of flip. Like, it's just, what are you talking about?
As a golf fan, I'm rooting for that opinion now. I just want to see the best players in the world play against each other.
Majors
more.
and 10 other times a year.
Yeah, exactly. If Liv's going to be around, fine. If the Tour's going to be around, give me like 14, 15 weekends a year where everyone's playing, and I'll take it. And if that's what he's driving at, I can get behind it. I'm cynical, that any of these guys are actually driving about, the goodness of the sport.
But how are you going to get these guys in, although they are by title some of the best players in the world, if they're not gaining the world...
Yeah, the rankings are moving down. Exactly. Taylor
If they're
Gooch
not gaining the world
complaining
rankings, how are they going to even qualify for those events to play? Or is it just by invite only where some guy's going to pay a bunch of money and invite the best players?
Well, I mean, and Neiman, he got invited to the Masters, and McIlroy made a great point today. He said that guy was flying all over the world trying to prove to your boy Fred Ridley that he should be in there. You know what I mean? Like, he won, I think, in Australia. He was playing all over the world saying, yes, I'm on LIV, but I also want to play elsewhere and I want to get in. And he got the invite. And listen, Taylor Gooch is probably one of the 50 best players in the world. He probably should be there, but he knew what he was getting into. He chose to be on LIV Golf. That's the way it goes, man. Maybe you guys should have figured that out before you started this tour, how the majors were going to respond, instead of 2 years after. Anyway. All right, good stuff today. Leap year tomorrow. Ooh, wow.
Going to get Cam Ward on. It's his birthday on a leap year tomorrow.
Really? Eh? All right, Cam Ward. There you go. Cup winner. He won the Conn Smythe in 06, right? He was unreal.
Yeah.
All right, Cam Ward, happy birthday tomorrow. We love it. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in, TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Watch out for those jiu-jitsu instructors. Lock your doors. 4 p.m.
I saw that.
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.